Good morning, students. Today I shall continue with the select statement, and the topic for discussion will be the in, between and the distinct operator. So let's start with the distinct operator. The distinct operator returns the unique set of records from a table. Now, based on this table identified by the name purchase, with 4 different columns which are SID for the student ID, DID for the device ID, QTY for the quantity, and QTY DT for the quantity purchase date, there is a question below. The question says, write a query to list the IDs of all devices from the purchase table. Now, the IDs of all devices, the IDs of all devices is denoted by the DID column of the purchase table. So the query for that will be select DID from purchase followed by semicolon. And upon executing this query, you will see the column DID along with its entries getting displayed in the output table. But there is a problem occurring here. The problem is that the entry D30 is appearing thrice in the output table under the DID column. There is a technique of removing these duplicate entries. Just include the distinct operator in the query before the column to be displayed, which is DID in this case, and on doing this you will see that the duplicate entries of D30 gets disappeared from the output table. As a result, the output table shows only the unique entries of DID. Now let's come to the next operator, which is the in operator. In is a set operator and is used as an alternative to multiple ORs. The reverse of in operator is not in. Now consider the table identified by the name student having 3 different columns which are SID, SNAME and SCT. Now based on this table, there is a question below. The question says, write a query to print the name and city of students who live in Durgapur or Bangalore. Now since name is represented by the SNAME column and the city of students is represented by the SCT column of the student table, so we write the query as select SNAME, SCT from the table student and then give the condition. We will give the condition in the where clause. Since the students have to be either from the city Durgapur or Bangalore, so I write the where clause as where SCT in Durgapur, Bangalore. So we have 2 choices, Durgapur and Bangalore. And upon executing this query, you can see the columns SNAME and SCT getting listed in the output table exactly like this, which shows the student names who reside in either Bangalore or Durgapur. Now if you look at the original table student, for the city Bangalore, the student associated with it is Arpita, and for the city Durgapur, the student associated with it is Astik. That's why in the output table you can see the records Arpita Bangalore and Astik Durgapur under the column SNAME and SCT respectively. Now let's come to the next topic, which is the between operator. Between is a range operator and is used to filter the records which falls between a given range. Now consider this table identified by the name device. This table has 4 different columns, which are DID for the device ID, DNAME for the device name, DCost for the device cost, and DProfit for the device profit. And each of these columns holds entries in their fields. But if you look at this table, one such column identified by the name DProfit shows null in its first field. Null here indicates that this field does not contain any value for the column. So the value is missing in the field, which shows null. In other words, we can also say that missing values in a field are represented as null. Now, based on this table named device, there is a question below. The question says, write a query to print the name and cost of devices, where cost of device is between 50 and 750. Now, as name is represented by the DNAME column and cost of devices is represented by the DCost column, so I write the query as select DNAME, DCost from device. Then in the where clause, I shall put the condition. The condition says the cost of device shall be between 50 and 750. And that's why I write the where clause as where DCost between 50 and 750 followed by semicolon. And upon executing this query, you will see the output table showing the columns DNAME and DCost with its entries pen drive for DNAME and 400.00 for DCost. This is because the device pen drive, the device pen drive has the DCost value 400.00, which is obviously between the range 50 and 750. That's why it is listed in the output table. The other two devices, that is RAM and DVD, with the DCost value 850.00 for RAM exceeds the value 750, and again 30.00 for the device DVD falls behind the value 50 in the range. That's why these two devices, that is RAM and DVD, are not listed in the output table. So that's all for today, and with this I end my presentation.